Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Chairmen. I want to join you in welcoming today's very important witnesses. I commend the two of you for your great leadership in doing the best possible job under the circumstances to get to the bottom of all of this, and I associate myself with the remarks of our distinguished chairman in the priority we place in the participation of the members of the family. When we began our joint inquiry 8 months ago, we began with a moment of silence. We did this in recognition of the tremendous tragedy that had befallen us, the gravity of the responsibility we faced, and the obligation we had to the families of those who lost their lives. Today, it is appropriate that we begin our first public hearing of this joint committee and this inquiry be viewed through with the presentation of the families. It is important that this inquiry be viewed through the prism of the families of the victims of the terrible tragedies that occurred in the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania. The dignity shown by the thousands of family members has been an inspiration to our country and a tribute to their loved ones. They have risen to the occasion that they never could have imagined, and their strength has lifted the spirit of all Americans. In welcoming our witnesses here today, I want to express the appreciation I know that every American feels toward them. The appreciation of the depth of their grief we can only imagine, but we do appreciate their leadership, which has sprung from that sadness. To Kristen Breitweiser, the co-chairman of September 11th Advocates, which is helping other families, and to Stephen Push, co-founder of Families of September 11th, and all the members of the families, thank you for your courage. All of America has been touched by this tragedy, as we all know, none more directly than all of you. However, we have some of us a closer association because of our work at the Pentagon. Members of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the Office of Naval Intelligence lost their lives when they went to work to protect our country. Little did they know that they would lose their lives at the Pentagon doing that. And of course, Mike Spann was the first American killed in conflict in our struggle to root out terrorism wherever it is. And his association with the intelligence community is one that I wish to acknowledge. As we address the challenge September 11th presents to our country, oh, and I also want to mention Betty Ong, a flight attendant on the plane that went into the World Trade Center. She was on Flight 11. She's one of my constituents in San Francisco. Her courage enabled her to keep communicating with the ground until the last possible moment. There's so many stories, and we know that at least there are 324 of them directly. We identify New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania, but on those planes, one of which was destined for San Francisco, there are people from all over the country whose lives were touched. As we address the challenge of September 11th that it presents to our country, we're walking on hallowed ground, respecting the sacrifice of those who died and ensuring to the families that justice will be done. We must find answers, reduce risk to the American people, and comfort the families. Families of those affected by September 11th talk of their continuing reactions to events that used to be no cause for concern. For some family members, every time a plane flies overhead, we have been told, they experience deep fear. We must remove that fear. We are all united in our determination to win the war against terrorism. We all agree that this battle will be won and that we will succeed by working together. The House and Senate Intelligence Committees have a responsibility to ensure that Congress conducts a thorough assessment of the performance of the intelligence agencies leading up to and including September 11th. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we must protect sources and methods, but we must conduct our inquiry so that in the most open way possible, that information that can be made available to the public, and especially to the families, is made available. Only in the case of protecting sources and methods should it be withheld, not in the case of protecting reputations or to avoid embarrassment to some. The committees, have decided that the best way to do our inquiry is to work cooperatively in a bipartisan manner on an inquiry conducted by the House and the Senate, as you know. And here we are today with our first public hearing. A joint investigation is an unusual step, but the events of September 11th call for unusual measures. I join both of our chairmen in commending our colleagues, the members of the House and the Senate, on the committees for their diligence and their reverence for the subject that we are dealing with. Our purpose is not to assign blame, but to identify areas that could lessen the chance that another September 11th could happen. We must do everything we can to prevent another terrible tragedy. In doing so, we will balance the need to enhance physical security for Americans with the duty to preserve the freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. The martyrs of September 11th gave their lives because of those freedoms. The goal of terrorists is to instill fear. That fear can change the way of life for a society. We cannot let them have that victory. We can and we must do things in a way that respects our people, protects our founding principles, and protects and defends our communities. The words of America the Beautiful ring true in describing the great cities of Washington, D.C., New York, and indeed the nation. O beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. Today those tears are fresh, but this is America, land of the free, and as the martyrs and their families have shown us, home of the brave. We will take all the time that is needed. We will pursue every angle. We will turn every stone to find answers for the family. And I hope that in all that we do in this joint inquiry and in rooting out the terrorism and finding the perpetrators of this tragedy, that our message, that our work says to the families, peace be with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.